Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the XFFL Show, episode number 8 to be exact. I'm your host, Josh Mitchell, also known as Daddy T, also known as the commissioner of the XFFL, also known as the head coach, captain, and owner of the New England Nexus. Hashtag We Are Nexus. What a week it was for the NFL. Unbelievable. Games coming down to the wire, games that you thought a team was completely out of it. They just come back and win the games. I see you, Baltimore Ravens. And more importantly, though, XFFL games. Some were very close, some were not so close. Others were projected to be very close until the fourth quarter of that Baltimore Ravens Indianapolis Colts game. I'm looking at you, Derek Palaki and Mike Warren. But as tradition, we start the show, of course, with recapping what happened in the previous week, and that'd be week 5 of the XFFL. And let's start things off right here. The Alpine Extreme versus the Charlotte Woo Outlaws. Alpine Extreme defeating them 144.68 to 102.80. You can thank Lamar Jackson, 41.88 points. You can thank Mark Andrews, 41.7 points. When I kid you not, the Charlotte Woo Outlaws had about like a 15 to 20 point lead over the Alpine Extreme in about like partially through the second half of that final Monday night game, thinking, okay, Lamar's just not doing it. But boy, Lamar has ice in his veins, 442 passing yards, setting a Baltimore Ravens record, 4 passing touchdowns on the day as well. But again, that just connection, as he likes to call it, that action connection of Action Andrews and Action Jackson. He did draft both of them in the first round and the second round, and clearly that paid off, because if it wasn't for just the tremendous game for both of them, we're looking at a whole other different story. Again, on the other side of things, the Woo Outlaws, 36.5 points for Josh Allen, nothing to beat up about. Cole Beasley, only 1.5. Saquon Barkley, 0.9. What does the future look for Saquon Barkley? Who knows, but every single year he's still getting hurt, and yeah, it's rough. It's a rough time to be a Giants fan. It's a rougher time to be a Charlotte Woo Outlaws fan. Moving down the list to another game that took place, a very close one. Again, indeed, Cleveland Clowns defeating the Rochester Revenge 96.96, crazy, to 95.68. Kyler Murray didn't do too much, only 13.66 points, but Nick Chubb single-handedly really carried this team, 24 points on the nose, looking like the Nick Chubb that we're used to seeing. And the other side of things, again, this is only barely a 1-point win. 20.9 points for Patrick Mahomes. It's not looking like the Patrick Mahomes we all know. Some love, some hate, you know. Stephon Diggs only 8 points on the night. Justin Jefferson, 19. Of course, you're going to get that from Justin Jefferson. But Jamal Williams, only 8.5. He's kind of been slipping down. Darren Waller, only 8.5. Kind of slipping down as well. So where's the direction with this team? Looking at the Rochester Revenge, it's still looking bright. It's just a matter of all these guys have to be clicking. Tyler Lockett, only 10 points as well. It's going to be interesting to see how Geno Smith kind of falls into that mix. If that's going to hurt DK Metcalf, which we'll get into in a little bit. And it's going to hurt Tyler Lockett. But how much? Or if it's going to kind of stay neutral. We'll see. We'll find out. Next matchup, North Carolina Carpetbaggers defeating the New York Potato Skins, 168.16 to 159.64. Aaron Rodgers, 20 points, solid. Robert Woods, let me tell you something. Robert Woods coming out of nowhere with 27 points. No touchdowns on the day, but 12 catches for 150 yards. What? Earlier in that week, they were discussing how Robert Woods is, it's okay. I don't need the ball that much. And the coach is like, yeah, he doesn't really care. Clearly, they were lying if they kept targeting Robert Woods like that. Austin Eckler, 32.9 points, including a touchdown that the Cleveland Browns literally carried him into the end zone. Najee Harris, also 22 points. And Alexander Madison, Dalvin Cook, woof. But Alexander Madison, excellent job. On the other side of things, nothing to be angry about. Tom Brady, 37.7 points. DeAndre Swift, 22 points. Hopkins had 20 points. Hollywood Brown, 33 points. But on that bench sits Jonathan Taylor with 31.9 points. He gets subbed in for one of those running backs. Completely different story, but unfortunately, we can't go back on those things. Okay, now let's get to the reason why I'm wearing the suit jacket and wearing the logo proudly. The New England Nexus defeat the Riverhead Blue Waves 153.22 to 152.98. Less than half a point differential. And I thank one man for it. Not sure if y'all can see it. Rodrigo Blankenship. Or in this case, Rodrigo Blankenship Yard. Got me the 8 points I needed, and we cruised. I wouldn't say cruise, but a lot less stress later on in the game. Justin Herbert is truly the real MVP in this one. 42.8 points on the day, 4 passing touchdowns, almost 400 yards, and a rushing touchdown against a very good Cleveland's defense, where I might add, Boomer Esiason and every one of those commentators kept saying that Justin Herbert was having a horrible game against a really good Cleveland defense. How is 400 yards and 4 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown a horrible game? Who knows? But again, we got to take into consideration Russell Wilson, only 10 points, out for anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 to 12. Who knows? At least 4 weeks, there's going to be no Russell Wilson. Kind of interested to see how the Riverhead Blue Waves roll on from there. Roll waves, or as we like to say, roll over waves. But yeah, solid outing from me. I'm 3-2 now. Also, Blue Waves 3-2 as well. So you'll love to see it. And to our final matchup on the day, the Malone Mutiny lose again. The Big Bend Blackbeards defeat the Malone Mutiny 182.08 to 148.32. Looking at the board, Dak Prescott, 21 points. CeeDee Lamb almost 19. DK had 26. Ezekiel Elliott, 25. Chubba, what's his name? Hubbard, 18 points. Travis Kelce, 17 points. Mike Williams, 32.5 points. If it wasn't for the record being broken just a couple of weeks ago, I would say that's one hell of a performance. But it is still one hell of a performance. Just unfortunately is not the record. On the other side of things, Jalen Hurts, 23, almost 24 points. Jamar Chase, 27 points. Looking like one of those keepers for the Mutiny. Kareem Hunt, 26 points. You're welcome for that trade. Although I think I've so far benefited from just having Justin Herbert. James Robinson, 21 points. Even Greg Zerlin had 14 points. Again, nothing to be ashamed of if you're the Malone Mutiny. But literally in back-to-back weeks, he puts up very decent numbers. And it just happens to be against a guy who scores 182 and a guy that scores 198. It's a shame. I feel really bad for you, Chris. But also on the same point, I don't feel that bad because you might be getting the number 1 pick. If you get the number 1 pick, you're looking like a good slot. As seen here, Zach Phillips, Carpetbaggers had the number 1 pick. They're in first place right now. So all it takes is a couple of you got to hit your picks. And then it's kind of just, we'll go from there. But segueing now to the man who did defeat the Malone Mutiny, a good friend of mine since college, wearing random jerseys to Clinton Dining Hall and people laughing at us and questioning what is our fanhood and where is our man cards. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Jeff Bell, the leader of the Big Bend Blackbeards. Jeff, how's it going?
Doing well. Say arg, Josh.
I want to talk about your team. How how has this team been so far this year, in your opinion?
It's been an interesting journey because, like, you talk about it first week of the season, taking down Mike Warren's team. He had a good week. He underachieved. I overachieved. But it's been really interesting because you have that Cowboy connection that you talk about so eloquently. It's really been the lifeblood of my team. A lot of people had doubts about Zeke going into the season. And in the first couple of weeks, it was more of a 50-50 timeshare, but he has since picked it up, and he's been a valuable fantasy asset. You know what Dak can do? He can run it. He can throw it. He can do so many different things. And then CeeDee Lamb has just been the breakout wide receiver this year for the Cowboys. Not that not a lot of people saw that coming, but it's just been one of those cases. You talk about those three right there. They are just a huge jump start to my team. And then you add arguably the best fantasy tight end in the game in Travis Kelce, adding to that with his 20 plus points to the table every week. But I say it's been an interesting year because I got the big upset against the Blue Waves when he was all confident that he was going to take down this old pirate right over here. Didn't happen, and but then you go the next week and you lose to a team like the Alpine Extreme. It's been a weird year. A lot of 3-2 teams. And but there's only one team at the top right now. But it's been fun. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for the casual fan. You got to keep sticking with it, and you got to trust your matchups. You really do.
Now, you just touched upon this, your Cowboys trio. Now, I want to rewind to the draft. Obviously, a keeper was Zeke, and your first round pick was CeeDee Lamb. Was it when was the moment where you're like, all right, I have to get Dak too?
You know what? It was interesting because you had texted me after I sent you my keepers, and you were like, I was actually kind of surprised that there wasn't this sleeper pick in Dak. And it was one of those things where he was definitely in consideration. But the thing is, with all the concerns about his shoulder coming out in training camp and stuff like that, really risky to keep a guy like that because when you do that, you almost have to automatically draft a quarterback for insurance, which I still did in the draft. But you know what? You keep looking at it, and he just falls to the right spot. You got to make that move. If you trust a guy, if you know he's going to be, if he's going to put up those numbers, you got to trust your gut. And with CD, it was the same way. It was just like he fell to the right spot. I needed a number 2 wide receiver behind DK Metcalf, who was one of my other keepers. And sometimes it just falls into place. You got to let the draft come to you. Don't reach for the drafts.
Now, speaking of draft as well, you drafted arguably the best tight end in that draft, Kyle Pitts, for the 2021 rookie draft. What's your plans with him? Obviously, you got Travis Kelce. What are you going to do with Kyle Pitts?
So Kyle Pitts is I call him my project. That's what I call him and the thing is that he really has fed into that role up until this past Sunday against the Jets. They've been trying to get him to the game plan. Really didn't see him until like the last seconds against the Giants when they went for that drive that got him the game-winning field goal. So he really has been playing up to that, but it's one of those things. This guy's got all the talent in the world. There was a reason why he was drafted where he was. He's faster than your average tight end, and he's got hands. He can block. He can do a lot of things. You can move him around the formations, put him in the backfield for all I care. You can do a lot of different things with him. And the thing is, you got to look at that and say, okay, this guy's going to be a fantasy stalwart at some point. Why not take him in a dynasty league, see what he can do? And if Kelce shows any signs of injury or any signs of tapering off his game, that's a consideration where maybe Kelce becomes trade bait even at his age.
Ooh, is there a chance that you're playing Kyle Pitts as a flex? Because you talked about matchups. Is that a possibility for you?
It certainly is, because right now Mike Williams is sitting in my flex, a low 35 points. It certainly worked out this week. It didn't work out the week before. Be quiet, extreme. But it is one of those things where you see a matchup against a defense that really hasn't been good against tight ends. You slide them in there, you get two elite tight ends that are playing off, and they can go off for some big numbers.
Now we must move on. It's now on to week 6. You're facing off against the defending champion, Scott Sheen and the Rochester Revenge. Right now, it's kind of even, about a 2-3 point swing. Where do you see your strengths, or do you see a weakness, or where do you see this playing out?
Well, I can tell you for certain that my roster, at least my starting roster, is not going to be the same as it looks right now going into the game against the Revenge. There's some areas that I got to tweak. One of them being my backup running back. McCaffrey is most likely going to be back this week, so it removes Chuba Hubbard from being that go-to option like he was against the Eagles and what he once was against the Cowboys. So that's got to shake up a little bit. So I got some work to do there, and really it's just a couple of minor nitpicks. You could look at Kyle Pitts in that flex spot, or potentially a little bit of shake up in the wide receiver room. You just got to look at every matchup, and you got to just trust your gut. That's what fantasy is all about, man.
Now, as tradition on the show, you're going to get the floor, and you're going to, if you want to be nice, you can be nice. If you want to trash talk, you can trash talk. But this is your opportunity to speak your mind against Scott, against Derek, against anybody you want. So, Jeff.
This league is just so much fun for so many different reasons. You're playing against a bunch of guys that have hung out and known each other for a long time from college, and so on and so forth. Just so many different contexts. It's so awesome to smack talk with these guys, and being a 2-time champion myself. It's always fun to have that little dig, when you're facing off against teams, because really you can brag all you want, but until you have that hardware, you can't really back it up with any sort of talk. So it really is fun to mess around with these guys. It's awesome that Chris has joined the league. I was pulling for him except for this week, and I congratulate him. It's like, dude, any other week, that's a win. It just happened to come. The schedule has not been great to him. Screw the Alpine Extreme, but more so screw Justin Herbert, because in that Monday Night Football game, Mike Williams was open. He just didn't look his way. So I feel like I was robbed a little bit in that regard. But it's just overall so much fun that there's so much participation. Everybody is so invested, and it just makes the drafts even better, and it just makes the whole experience that much better, because again, you are invested not only in your team, you're watching these games actively, but you're also pulling for guys at the same time. Well, at the same time, you want to win. So it's just all around great experience. But at the end of the day, you got to trust your gut. If you think it's something worth playing, don't overthink it. Just go with it. Because one of the prime examples is a lot of the conventional wisdom would be, drop a guy like Chuba Hubbard after his kind of a stinker against Dallas's defense that a lot of people see as one of their weaknesses is the rush defense. You open that up, and then he goes against a Philadelphia Eagles team with Fletcher Cox up the middle, and he ends up churning out 18 points. And that is one of the reasons why I was able to pull the victory against the Mutiny. And it's matchups like that really make the difference. You know what your stars are going to do. It's what are those secondary guys that you pick up off the waiver wire. If you have enough faith in them to go up against teams, you're going to squeak out some wins like that. And that's the difference of winning a championship versus finishing last.
Waiver wire winner. Let's just give it to Mr. Jeff Skipperbell right there. More of a happier, uplifting, more than a smack talk, which totally love, but giving some love for the XFFL and the show as well, and except not for the extreme. So sorry. But after the interview segment, you know what it means. It is now time for week 6 of the XFFL preview part of the show. And let's go right to the game that we were just referencing. And it's the Big Bend Blackbeards taking on the Rochester Revenge. Again, battle of some 3-2 teams. We're going to have a couple of those. We got Patrick Mahomes versus Dak Prescott. Dak's going against New England, so I think that's a favorable matchup. Patrick Mahomes going against Washington. I don't know what Washington's defense is going to be. Some games are really good. Some games are just abysmal. So Patrick Mahomes hasn't been the greatest. CeeDee Lamb again against New England. Zeke Elliott against New England. Tyler Lockett against Pittsburgh. That should be a good matchup. But again, I don't know what Geno Smith is going to get you. Justin Jefferson versus the Panthers. Again, Panthers sometimes look fantastic and other times look like they don't belong. So, kind of assessing things, I'm giving it to the Cowboy man himself, the Big Bend Blackbeards and Jeff, just on the basis of the Cowboys going up against the New England's defense. That's kind of iffy, if not average at best. And I think there's just way too many weapons for Cowboys to kind of not put up points. At least two of them will put up points. Next matchup, the Cleveland Clowns taking on the North Carolina Carpetbaggers. Yeah, I'm picking the Carpetbaggers in this one. Aaron Rodgers versus Chicago. Technically, history kind of tells us that Aaron Rodgers is good against Chicago. Chris Godwin versus the Eagles. Yes. Robert Woods versus the Giants. Yes. And then he has the kind of the luxury of Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, and Christian McCaffrey. Well, Christian McCaffrey may not be 100% and technically may not play. We're kind of iffy on that. I do like their matchups. Other sort of things, Kyler Murray versus Cleveland. Cleveland has a really good defense, but Kyler Murray is also like an MVP frontrunner. So take it for what you will. Nick Chubb versus Arizona. So kind of flipping the script there. But yeah, I'm picking the Carpetbaggers in this one. Again, just wide receiver matchups have been kind of key in a lot of the games this year. So Robert Woods and Chris Godwin going against two NFC East defenses, not going to be pretty in the sense of they're going to put up a lot of points. All right, next matchup. The Malone Mutiny taking on the Charlotte Outlaws. Can Chris Piccaro get his first win and appear on the XFFL show? Who knows? We'll find out. Jalen Hurts versus Tampa Bay. I don't like that, but it is what it is. Jamar Chase versus Detroit. I do like that. I do like that a lot, but Joe Burrow is still questionable with his throat contusion. Kind of interesting. James Robinson versus Miami. I do like that as well. On the other side of things, Josh Allen versus Tennessee. Yeah, that's going to be good. Cooper Kupp versus Giants. Very good. Let's see. Antonio Gibson versus the Chiefs. Yeah, it should be good. As you saw, running game is pretty good against the Chiefs. Josh Jacobs versus Denver. Okay. And Gesicki versus Jacksonville. I like that as well. So, yeah. I want to give it to Chris, but I just know in my heart that Jalen Hurts is not going to do that well against Tampa Bay. Yeah, I'm picking the Woo Outlaws. They're 2-3. This is one of the matchups that's not between a battle of 3 and 2 teams. So I'm picking the Woo Outlaws, unfortunately. Chris, if Jalen Hurts wasn't playing against Tampa Bay, I would have thought otherwise, but alas. Sorry, buddy. Next matchup. Riverhead Blue Waves, 3-2, not 5-0. Hashtag roll over waves versus the New York Potato Skins, who are 1-4, very surprisingly. Tom Brady going against the Philadelphia Eagles defense. Yeah, going to torch them. At least 35 points, I'm calling it. Deontay Johnson versus Seattle. Now that Juju Smith is out, kind of looking very, what they call a spicy matchup for Deontay Johnson. Darrell Henderson versus Giants. I like that as well. TJ Hawkinson versus Cincinnati. Kind of a toss-up there. And another must-play, Jonathan Taylor versus Houston, because not on a good side of Potato Skins management for sitting on the bench. On the other side, Devontae Adams versus Chicago. That should be pretty good indeed. Derrick Henry versus Buffalo. I don't like that. I think Buffalo's defense is easily the number one defense. I have them. I would know. Dalvin Cook. Will it be Dalvin Cook? Who knows at this point? That might be going down as one of the just most unfortunate keepers this year. I don't want to say this is a worst keeper because you could do absolutely terrible as a keeper. He's just hurt. So it's very unfortunate as a keeper. Dawson Knox is not unfortunate because, man, that dude puts up points. And apparently you're best friends with Josh Allen. So that's going to keep happening. I honestly don't know which way to go. Part of me is saying Blue Waves. Part of me is saying Potato Skins because the matchups with Deontay Johnson and Tom Brady, Darrell Henderson, Jonathan Taylor is literally a toss-up for me. I don't know which one to pick. I'm gonna do Potato Skins, but it's like 51-49. Potato Skins, or as we like to say, Mike Potato, who is on the Riverhead Blue Wave, so kind of a connection there. And so have my team, the New England Nexus, taking on the Alpine Extreme, a battle of the 3-2 teams. Justin Herbert versus Baltimore. It's going to put up some points. Mike Evans versus Philadelphia. He's going to put up some points. Same with Leonard Fournette and Aaron Jones. Playing Chase Claypool. That's more like I'm not used to saying his name because he never plays for my team. But now he is because he's now the number 1/number 2 for the Steelers without Juju. So definitely going to get some targets at least. On the other side of things, Lamar Jackson versus the Chargers. Oh, I just realized our two quarterbacks are going head-to-head in real life. So 1 o'clock this Sunday is going to be very enjoyable. Adam Thielen, Action Thielen, or Total Thielen. I always screw it up. Oops. Versus Carolina. Mark Andrews versus the Chargers. Again, good. It's just a matter of who he plugs and plays in. A lot of people are on the bye this week for his team. Corey Davis, Alvin Kamara, Calvin Ridley. And now Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on IR. So going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, on my end, too, I don't have Logan Thomas and I don't have Dallas Goedert. So tight end, can it be at least somewhat decent? We'll see. I'm picking me straight up. I like my two Buccaneers matchups against the Philadelphia Eagles defense. It just plain sucks. Hoping Mr. Blankenship can play as well because against Houston, that's going to be very interesting. But yeah, I'm picking me. Sorry. Go Nexus. Oh, I get the Heart and Band too. Look at that. Go Nexus. We are Nexus. All that fun stuff. Anyway. But that's it for the predictions part and pretty much for the show. For episode 8 of the XFFL Show, I want to thank Jeff Skipper Bell, owner, captain, head coach of the Big Bend Blackbeards, for stepping on by, talking about his team and his love for the XFFL. Love to see it. But thank you all for tuning in and watching and supporting the channel. We'll be back again next week with another episode. Who will be the highest scoring team and get to come on the show? Or with the caveat, if the Malone Mutiny win, they will be on the show. Locked in, guaranteed. Fingers crossed for you, Chris. Pulling for you, buddy. But yeah, that's going to do it for us. And take care. Enjoy the rest of your week and happy football. Later.